Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Talk a little high school sports. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, what's going on today?
You get a day off? Everything canceled?
I don't know. Still waiting word on that Middle Township St. Augustine basketball game. I think they're holding out on that, or at least I haven't heard yet. But
yeah, I know a lot of stuff got canceled.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. The Hackney swim thing moved to tomorrow and stuff like that. So kind of disappointing. I'm not. The older I get, I'm not a big snow guy. I'd rather plow through. No pun intended. Plow through the winter without any snow and get all these events and games in. Rather than have them postponed and stuff.
Well, Mike, really interesting week, especially in high school basketball. Earlier this week, you were down there in Middle Township as Tom Feraco. They named the court after him, deservedly so, 710 wins in 35 years. Talk about him a little bit for people who may not know him, sort of a South Jersey basketball legend.
Yeah, I mean, what he did at Middle Township is really remarkable. 9 South Jersey championships, 3 state championships. I think there was a long period where they ran off 20 wins in a row, and just a guy, a kind of larger-than-life type of guy, a guy who kind of took over every gym he kind of walked into with a quirky personality, which he kind of showed during his speech that he gave. A guy that kind of could really connect with people and really, built a program down there, 35 years at Middle Township, really gave his heart and soul to the school. And his team, his team played, simple but kind of pure basketball. They played tremendous defense. They made the extra pass. It wasn't so much the X's and O's. It's that they played the game the right way, and they played it hard and with intensity. And for 35 years, I mean, Middle Township is known, kind of throughout the state, and a big reason, Middle Township High School is known throughout the state. A big reason why is, Tom Feraco and the success of their boys basketball program.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those, when he was coaching, one of those teams you see on the schedule, and you're like, oh, man, we better have the energy level up tonight because they're just going to come after us for the entire time.
Well, when they had a lot of talent, they won big. I mean, he won with Division I players like Lamar Greer and John Leahy, and he won with soccer players and football players and players that other schools wouldn't have put winning teams out on the floor. So he was able to do it with all types of players. And really, his teams were always there year in and year out, always around that 20-win mark, always in contention for the Cape Atlantic League title, always in contention for South Jersey title. And, of course, those 3 state titles are, monumental. And his 719 wins, second only to Paul Rodeo, and his, 3 state titles, obviously an amazing achievement also.
So do you think there'll ever be anything named after Mike McGarry?
I hope not. Well, let's put it this way. I'm afraid to see what it would be if it was. So we'll leave myself out of that.
That's got to be so cool, though, as a coach, to have a court or a field named after you. I can't imagine the thrill he had on Tuesday night to see that unveiled. What was your reaction to his reaction to that?
Well, I think he was really touched emotionally. I've known him a long time. I mean, he was. I tell people all the time, the first basketball game I ever covered for the Press of Atlantic City was, Middle Township versus Perth Amboy Tech in the 1993 Tournament of Champions quarterfinals. One of the first coaches I ever called up to do a story was Tom Feraco. So I go back with him, it's scary now. What's that, about 23 years?
Yeah.
Of covering him and all his great assistants and things like that. And you could tell that, he was touched. His voice cracked a little bit when, he said he looked at his assistant coaches on one side and his wife Janine and his sons Tommy and Michael on the other side. He got a little emotional there, but I think it's just a great thing. I mean, the way it's set up is really the Middle Township people did a tremendous job. They've got a banner on the wall now commemorating his 719 wins, and on center court there, I tweeted out the picture, and it got a lot of retweets and, whatever, happens on Twitter to a picture. It's the words Tom Feraco Court are right around, the center court, and it looks great, and that's there forever. I mean, that's, and it deserves to be there. But it's his name is on that court forever, and that means something. That's really not too many guys get that, and that's just tremendous.
Talking with Mike McGarry, the press of Atlantic City, and Mike, I know we've talked about this from time to time, and I think it's important for people to know, the fans out there, the high school sports fans, that as sports reporters, when you're in a place for a long time, and you've been at the press for decades now, you kind of build these relationships with coaches, and obviously they're professional relationships. You're not hanging out on the weekends or anything like that, but you kind of get to see their whole family grow up, so to speak. And I'm sure that's happened with a lot of coaches you've been around. How neat is that to see? I mean, you were probably around for the birth of his kids, and to see them grow up all the way through high school and college. It's kind of a neat thing.
Right, I was, and then I saw them both play for Middle Township and everything else, and it is kind of neat. And you see that it's especially true in basketball, because basketball is a sport where you see the coaches more than once a week. In football, you kind of see them on Friday nights or Saturday afternoons, and that's it. In basketball, you get to see them a lot, especially if a team is successful, like in Atlantic City, like in St. Augustine, like in Middle Township, that goes on one of those state tournament runs where they're playing every other day for 2 weeks, and you're almost, kind of living in that same world. You're covering the game on Tuesday, talking to them Wednesday for a preview story for the next game, covering the game on Thursday. So especially in basketball, you kind of develop those relationships because, like I said, you see them more than once, and especially if a team is successful and goes on one of those memorable state tournament runs, which obviously Feraco's team did numerous times, you almost spend 2 to 3 weeks with them, talking to them every day, for 15, 20 minutes, and seeing them, for 2 hours during a game. So you're right in that respect, and that especially works out that way in basketball. It's just the nature of the sport.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about this season in the Cape Atlantic League. Some really interesting races heating up, particularly in the Cal National on both the boys and the girls side. You have sort of these 4-team races going on between Ocean City, Mainland, Holy Spirit, and Lower Cape May. I got to believe this is going to come down to the final week.
Well, absolutely. And what's, again, fascinating, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the best thing the Cape Atlantic League ever did was come up with the Cape Atlantic League basketball tournament. I think it's a great, great event, and it adds meaning to every regular season game that is played. And you mentioned that Cape Atlantic League United National Division. You look at it in boys basketball. You have Ocean City 3-0, Holy Spirit 2-0, Mainland 2-0 in the division, Lower Cape May 1-0 in the division. So you've got 4 teams right there, sort of contending for what appears to be, 3 spots. Because, you got St. Augustine and Atlantic City in the American. You got a Millville team that gets a huge win last night over Mainland Regional. Carlton Lawrence with 17 points. A Millville team that's up to a surprising 6-1 start. Only lost to St. Augustine. And in the United Division, you probably got Wildwood Catholic, St. Joe. And let's not ignore Cape May Tech. Cape May Tech is kind of throwing themselves with their big win over Wildwood Catholic. So you've kind of got 3 teams from the United Division, and you've got those 4 teams in the National. And every game those teams play especially against each other, Lower Mainland, Mainland Ocean City, which is big anyway, Mainland Holy Spirit, which is big anyway, they play this Thursday. Those games mean extra more because, that could be the difference between this team getting into the Cape Atlantic League tournament or missing the Cape Atlantic League tournament. So I just think the tournament adds some extra meaning to a lot of games, and you've got a situation this year where you've got, probably 4 teams in the National and 3 teams in the United kind of going for 2, 4, maybe 5 spots. So every time those teams play, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. You might have a team such as you mentioned Cape May Tech or even Pleasantville. Both those teams are having pretty good seasons, and they might be on the outside looking in just because it's so competitive.
Right, and I forgot about Pleasantville there, so let's throw them in the mix, and then you're at 8 teams for 5 spots. So, it makes sometimes the basketball season kind of everybody waits for those big showcase events in February, the Battle by the Bay, the Cherry Hill East Invitational, the Shoot Down Cancer Classic. Those events are great, and everybody's kind of focused on the cutoff date for the state tournament and seedings like that. And sometimes the grind of January can kind of, the basketball maybe doesn't get as much attention, but, the January games between those schools are huge because that's the difference between getting in and not making it. You've got Mainland Holy Spirit this Thursday, huge basketball game.
How psyched up are you for Monday night? You got Prep and Spirit. I mean, Spirit's kind of one of those up-and-coming teams, a lot of good young players. They're really going to get put to the test on Monday against Prep, and I know they're already selling advanced tickets for that game.
Well, obviously, that's a huge rivalry, and I'll be excited to see St. Augustine. I saw St. Augustine opening night. Then they played, Millville. They played 2 games up in Jersey City, played Egg Harbor Township this week. If the game is not postponed today with the weather, I'll go see them tonight against Middle Township. But I'm anxious to see St. Augustine play. I mean, like I kind of wrote in our little thing, we do the top 10 list that appears in our high school live feature in the paper on Friday. I mean, who on the Hermits doesn't dunk? I mean, the one game I saw, everybody's dunking. They're bringing guys out of the stands to dunk. So they are the high-flying Hermits. Maybe they need a better nickname than that, but they're worth the price of admission anytime you can get to see St. Augustine play.
Good stuff, Mike. We're up against the break. Got to let you go, but appreciate it as always, and we're looking forward to an exciting week of high school basketball. As always, Sully, talk to you next Saturday. Thanks for a few minutes. Thanks, bud. All right, see you later. That was Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City.